Well back, and we saw. Okay, going to get started. Well back. It's another wonderful day. All right, another week. We have a lot to cover today. Again, a lot to cover, so we're gonna get right into it. And let's see. Just gonna get set up here. Kabul Muisar means Kabul means welcome. Muisar family. Kabul Muisar, welcome family. Kabul Muisar. Rahul back. Okay. So yeah, let's see. I can't find something real quick. And all right. Let's see where we at. Okay. So, for those who do not know me, my name is Peti Sina Teptu Re'e, and I've been over a 30-year student teacher of the profound doctrine of the master teacher, known to us as Panabab Yananan, also known as Dr. Malachi Z.K. York, who has been teaching us our ancient culture. We identify as Wu-Sabat, also known as Wu-Nawap, which stands for those who make decisions based on sound right reasonability, based on the principles of Ma'at, based on the wisdom of the Hutri. In essence, it means it's a culture of our ancestors was about living in harmony with natural nature. We as an African people lived in harmony with natural nature. In modern terms, people call it animism, meaning that existence is animated. Everything has a spirit force, everything has a life force, an energy force. Animate objects as well as inanimate objects has a spirit or energy force, or we call a morphic resonant field today. As a scientist would say, everything has a morphic resonant field. And that's what animism is. And we as Africans were in harmony and in tune with these different spirit forces, these different energies, these different frequencies and vibrations. And so we prided ourselves in living in harmony with nature, being one with nature. And that culture was called Wunawa or Wu-Sabat. That's what we know. That was the culture, one of the names we knew it as. And I'm just one of many student teachers, right, who are dedicated to re-educating our people, Black African people around the globe, re-educating them about this ancient culture, because we're arguing that the challenges that Black people are facing all over the globe, especially within the last 500 years, is due to the decisions that we've been making. We have got away from our original way of doing things, and we have embraced European, Western cultures, and we have been suffering because of it. And what we're saying is the only way to fix that suffering is for us to start making intelligent decisions by getting back to the cultures that gave us our power, gave us our strength, gave us our dignity, gave us our respect, rather than being under the subjugation of other people. As we said before, the creators of a culture are the rulers of that culture. And the rulers of that culture are the beneficiaries of that culture. And that's why you see Europeans have all the power, have all the wealth, have everything, because everyone's living under their cultural systems. And so we keep arguing to our people that that's not going to change until we start doing things for ourselves. And that's what we're here to do. So we do these lectures every Tuesday night. We do these live question and answer classes. We always recommend people to watch our lectures more than once. Definitely, if you're new to the site, definitely check out the older lectures. We kind of recommend people looking at the older lectures before you even come into a live session like this, so that when you do come in, you'll be full of questions and concerns that we can address. So take your time, watch any kind of watch our lectures and discussions, and then hopefully you can participate in our live sessions. Now, with that all being said, Before we get started, we do a prayer system. So we want to go into our prayer system. Our culture is about our spiritual development. And the key to spiritual development is the prayers and the chants and the many other rituals that we do, right? This is the whole essence of what our culture was all about. And being in harmony with nature, we're highly spiritual, and prayers and chanting is part of the ways of developing ourselves and connecting with our spiritual nature. So uh, you guys who are familiar, we do our chants first in our language, which is Sabatia, and then we do it in English, right? So to make it easy for people to know what we're saying. But we always recommend learn the language. It's very important. Our language is based on tones. So let's get started. Bade Kalal Namasat Wufako Amak Kasaman Shalapot. Panan Safa Kawun. Pa Sawat Wupa Tara. Z Kawuna Nazula Lahet Enkum. Mana Sabaat Wu-Sabat. Amah Hade En Shafe Un. Mana Salafu Wu Nataru. Ajula Ye Nafasu Kum. Afuk Shane Kawun Kuma. Pa Sawat Wu Pa Tara. This book is the truth and the way. It was sent down for you all from Sabaat Wu-Sabat, star constellations, as a guidance and a healing. From your ancestors and overseers, return to your own. Accept what is yours, the truth and the way. Anun tawa ankum laha panan shafe'un wu alaj. Anun tawa ankum laha nasuinun. Anun tawa ankum laha ashuk. Ankum ata salafunun. Anun ata khara'ukum. Anun talub nasakuma. Anun talub nasakuma. And so nun sayinataru. And so nun salafunun. Anun ata muspa'u. We thank you all for this healing and cure. We thank you all for not forgetting us. We thank you all for Ashuk. You are our ancestors. We are your children. We seek your help. We seek your help. Help us, divine overseers. Help us, our ancestors. We are Musba'u. Anun. Atun. Atun. Amun. Jedna 4. Okay. All right. So let's get started. All right. So every week, as you guys are familiar with it, we go over our core principles. For those of you who may be new, who are watching this lecture for the first time, we go over our core principles of our culture, right? Because all of our lectures and discussions are based around our core principles. So it's imperative that you guys know what our core principles are, which is the basis of our culture and how we live, right? So we always try to make that clear for everyone. Principle number 1 is Ashak, stands for divine love or the power of love, right? And Ashak is what we call the creative spirit force that all existence comes from. It's the 9th force. And our goal as students of Wu-Sabat is to learn to become in harmony with this spirit force once again, to be at one with the spirit force. And guys, just so you know, next week, that's what our discussion is going to be on. Our discussion is going to be on the power of love. So look out for that next week. Principle number 2 is resurrection, which means to become goddesses and gods by opening your third eye. And that's what today's discussion is about, as well as last week's discussion. So for those who did not see last week's discussion, definitely watch it, because this is a continuation of last week's discussion on this subject of resurrection. Principle number 3 is the wisdom of the Hutui and Ma'at. The Hutui stands for our divine mind, and Ma'at stands for order. We did discussions on that, so definitely check those lectures out for those who did not see it. And I'm always going to recommend watch it again if you haven't watched it in a while. Principle number 4 is relationships. As an African people, we live of, for, and by each other as a community. We're not capitalists. We're not communists. We're not socialists. We, that has nothing to do with us. Our culture is about community living as one people, you know. And so definitely we did a discussion on that. So definitely check that out. Principle number 4 is morphic resonance slash matrix. Morphic resonance stands for sound, tones, frequency, colors, vibrations, meaning the creative force is based on this harmonic sounds, this morphic resonant sounds that produces the matrices of existence, which is all the material things that manifest through nature. Okay. Principle number 6 is soul and spirit. Your soul is your emotional force. Your spirit is your life force. So we did discussions on that. So definitely check those lectures out. Principle number 7 is Leviathan, which is what we're at war with. Leviathan stands for moon culture, aka religion, aka Western culture. We did a discussion on that, so definitely check that out. And if you haven't seen that in a while, definitely watch that lecture again, guys. Principle number 8 is health, right? Health stands for, first part of health is a positive mind. As melanated people, we need a lot of sunlight, water. The body is 70% water. Fasting at least once or twice a week. The herbal diet, as Dr. Sabi talks about. Exercise, right? That's key to health. And rhythmic breathing. Guys, we put out a book called The Breath Book that teaches you about rhythmic breathing. Guys, get that book. Meditation, concentration, prayer, and chanting. As I always say, health is not just physical, but it's also spiritual. Health is not only physical, but it's also spiritual. As an African people, we overstood that. Okay. Principle number 9 is existence, acknowledging the existence of the creative force, right? Stands for the all. You can't add to all, because where would you get it from? You can't take from all, because where would you put it? So Pa'ut is existence, the creative force that our ancestors overstood. And within existence is based on what we call the SMAT, the cycles of existence, right? And the energy of existence we call Achach. So those are important principles for you guys to know about. Now, for those who are Sabaeans, right? We have 3 primary goals. The goals of the students of Wu-Sabat. Goal number 1 is to raise the self. Goal number 2 is to fight Leviathan. And goal number 3 is to work to build Sabbatia. Now, goal number 1, first key is you must become born again, as the Christians teach, by learning the culture of Wu-Sabat and live it. Meaning you got to give up the Western culture for this new culture. Forget everything you learned in the West, because everything you was taught in the West is basically opposite to what our African culture was about. So that's why we say act like a baby, and start anew. Now, in that process of raising the self, your first goal is to correct your name by choosing a Sabaean name and make it known to all. You must correct how you look and dress. You must learn to speak Sabaean. You must study our doctrine every day, which builds your sound right reasoning skills, guys. You must practice and master our daily rituals to turn yourself inside out. And key to all of this is you must always be positive. Now, the second goal and of a Sabaean is to fight Leviathan. We at war with Leviathan. This includes working to free Panda Bab Yunanin, promoting Wu-Sabat, become a student teacher, and fight the 6 strongest weapons of Leviathan, which are ignorance, fear, ego, anger, lust/desires, lies/deceptions. These are the principles of European culture. They live by all of these things. And that's what we're at war with. That's why we talk about we must get away from this way of life, because it's destroying us. And then the third principle is to work to build Sabatia. We work to support each other in business. We help each other reach positive goals. We help to build our culture. We must set up a landing zone for Panatharu in Africa, which means we need land in Africa that would be supported by an African government. We need our own land, our own community, guys. So that's very important. That's one of our major goals. And Ashak is the key to accomplish all our goals. Now, what does it mean to be a Sabaean? A Sabaean is someone who's thoughtful and cares, someone who is helpful and honest, someone who is responsible and hardworking, someone who demands justice, and honorable, someone who is righteous and humble, someone who is positive and cheerful, someone who is loving and peaceful, someone who is kind and considerate, and someone who is neat, clean, and orderly. Our purpose. Our purpose as Sabaean is liberation from adverse forces. This is what we're working towards, to liberate ourselves from adverse forces. Number one, you must take action each and every day to free yourself of 6 ether spirits inside and out, which includes Black people who are possessed by these spirit forces, guys. 2, acknowledge and fight 6 ether from promoting capitalism, the gay agenda, miscegenation, the so-called equality of the races, racism, white supremacy, and all the other things that are negative in this society we're fighting. And then number 3 is to learn, live by, and promote the laws/rules of natural nature. So that is what our purpose is. This is what we're dedicated to as Sabaeans. Now, word of advice. Do not judge this doctrine by watching the behavior of Panda Bab Yanana nor his students. Judge this doctrine by the effectiveness of the information, aka affirmation, that you personally put to practical use. This doctrine is based on self-authentication, guys. Another thing I want to point out. Know that we are not, guys, this is very important for you guys to know this. Know that we're not preachers, we are teachers. So you must always ask questions until we have a meeting of the minds, because until then, we will not have unity, which is the only solution to our problems, guys. So I highly recommend it. Understand that. We're teachers. Us students of the master teacher, we're teachers. We're not preachers. So we're supposed to be having a discussion. So we do these lessons, and the whole point of you guys listening to the lessons, right, is to create dialogue so that we can talk about all of these classes, all of these points that we brought up, so that we can all get to a meeting of the minds. Because I have no idea whether or not you agree with everything we're teaching. And if you don't, you need to ask. Or if you have questions about concepts, you need to ask those things so that there can be a meeting of the minds. This is why our organization is not really functioning the way it needs to function. We have a lot of dissension because we have a lot of disagreements. And we don't supposed to have disagreements because we're all supposed to represent the same culture. So my goal is to teach like most students, but it's you guys' job is to understand what we're teaching and ask questions about those teachings to see if we all agree and if we all see it eye to eye. And if we do, because this is the ultimate goal, once we do see these things eye to eye, then we should be working together. We should be developing plans, action plans on how we can help make what we're doing, our culture, Wu-Sabat, stronger for all of us. That's the ultimate goal, guys. So ask your questions. I repeat, ask the questions. Let's get the conversation started based on the lessons that we put out. So guys, y'all can watch prior lessons and you can ask questions in the open chat as we're going through. So, let me finish the whatever the teachings are for the day. But at the end of each class, I'm always asking guys what questions or concerns you have so we can talk about those things. So I just wanted to make that point clear. Now, with that being said, today's lesson is a continuation from last week's discussion. And although we changed the title a little bit, right? So today's title is Resurrection versus Reincarnation. And that's what we talked about last week. We talked about the first and second resurrection. And we talked about what happens if you don't resurrect. In essence, most people, they're going to reincarnate. So this is a very involved subject matter. It's a lot to it, and so that's why we have to do this more than one session. So let's get started. Okay. So we're gonna pick up where last week we talked about first resurrection, but there were some concepts about first resurrection that we didn't get to address that are extremely important, right? and it's very important that we address those concepts. So we're going to go over that today, and among other things. So we have a lot to cover now. So the question becomes, what is first resurrection? We talked about that. So first resurrection is being able to make contact with the masters and your oversoul before you physically die. You know, this is one of our ultimate goals of all students of Wu-Sabat, is to to become one with your oversoul and to make contact with your ancestors who exist on the higher dimensions before you physically die. Unlike most religions, like Christians teach, they teach, well, in order to see heaven, in order to meet God, you have to die. We don't teach that. That is not what our African culture was ever about. We was always in contact with our ancestors who existed on the higher abodes. And this is what the master teacher came to re-educate us about: how to make contact, how to be in tune with your spiritual nature, so that you're not cut off from the other realms. And today we are cut off. And this is what resurrection is all about. So first resurrection is making contact before you physically die. And second resurrection is what I call it, is that you still able to make contact, but you physically die. So let's say you physically die, but you're still able to make contact. You're able to resurrect. So that's second resurrection. Of course, it's in your best interest to make the first resurrection, because let's say you don't make first resurrection. Now you run the risk of either reincarnating, you know, and who wants to take that chance? We talked about last week. You get up to 24,000 reincarnation cycles. 24,000 reincarnation cycles. So we're going to talk about that today. So now, getting into the first resurrection, we're gonna pick up on that again. So as a recap, going back to the master teacher, and let's see. This is a particular book we put out. I always like to do this. This was the book called the Breaking the Spell, Right Knowledge series. This particular scroll came out in 2000, 2001, around those years. And it just tells, it talks about the master teacher's purpose, his goal. And so I think that's very important for me to address that in the beginning, especially on this subject matter, so everyone is clear about his purpose, so that you know this is why I'm teaching what I'm teaching, and this is why you guys need to know this subject matter, right? We did this last week. I've did it before, and I'm going to do it again, so that it's edged in your mind. So if anybody ever asks you, what is the purpose of the teachings of Dr. York? Yeah, you guys should know that inside and out. Anyone who listens to my classes, y'all should know that answer to that question inside and out. What is the purpose of the teachings of Dr. York? He goes on to say, I have devoted my visit to this planet to the resurrection of the mentally dead, which I affectionately refer to as mummies. Never did I know that the evil one had done such a great job with these people, both mentally and physically, as to have them hate self and kind. My greatest dilemma and hindrance has been the black devil, born amongst you and by you, married to you, socializing with you, praying in the same sacred houses of worship as you. But secretly, they have a spiritual pact with the devil, which makes it near impossible for them to totally surrender to NoopooH. But for the few chosen, for the many called, I sift to find those beings that wish to become one with the Supreme in all. So I, the Supreme Grand Hierophant, Amun Nibu Re'e Achakta, as I am known throughout the mystical schools, the incarnation of the Hutui, thought the student of the great tomb, known as Atumure, the first point of resurrection, right? The master teacher is the first one, the first resurrected. He's the first one among us who's been resurrected like that, from ignorance to the right knowledge, to the right wisdom, to the right understanding. I have blended in with each of the religions most interesting to my people. I have lived as one of them, practiced as one of them, in order to reveal the misconceptions of these doctrines, so that have plagued and diseased the minds of my people. So, you know what his purpose is to resurrect us mentally, to restore our minds back to our ancient way of doing things, to restore us, to re-educate us spiritually. Okay, that is what his goal, and he says that again here in the book Man from the Planet Risk on page 32, just so you see the book Man from the Planet Risk. And if you go to page 32, he addresses the same subject matter. Let's see. Okay, it says, question, Yanun, you stated that your sole purpose is to save the children of the Anunnaki, or in this case, the Natharu on this planet. Could you explain your assignment further? So what is your purpose? What is your assignment? Why did you come here? That's what the question is. Answer. First, will you call me Doc or Dr. York? He says, my assignment is to spiritually educate the beings of this planet Earth, who are the children of the Elohim, Anunnaki, or the Nathar in this case, guys. That's the updated terminology for those who do not know. So he says, I repeat, my assignment is to spiritually educate the beings of this planet who are the children of the Nathar, those who came down to the planet Earth, right? In Sumer, at a place called Eridu, where Iraq is today, he talks about. So now, he says, I am here in order to prepare the 144,000, those chosen to be picked up by a mother plane called Nibiru. We also known as the Manjet in ancient Kemet. Nibiru is the Sumerian name, and Manjet is the Egyptian or the Tamarian name. And so he says, those chosen to be picked up by the mother plane, Nibiru, by way of a mother ship called the Crystal City, that will release smaller passenger crabs called Sham, meaning up there. Okay, so again, he's talking about why he came. He came to re-educate us spiritually, right? So that we can be resurrected, or now where we make contact with your oversoul. And once you're able to do that, right, then the next thing is those individuals who are able to achieve that will be able to connect with the masters, with the Nathar, where you would be able to go with them to be re-educated. He talks about that. In fact, we're gonna get a little bit into that in our discussion later on. So I don't want to go into that right now because I'm going to come back to it. So we're going to answer that. Edie Moth, we're going to answer that question. How do you know which one, how many reincarnations you've experienced? We're going to talk about that today. So now you guys are familiar, right, with the master teacher, his purpose, his goal. So let's get into a book we put out. Let's see. This particular book is called The Ancient Egyptian Materialization Rite. This particular book came out also in the year 2000, 2001, and is dedicated to teaching us how to become one with your oversoul. That is the whole purpose of this book. The master teacher had set up a ritual on our land before it was taken by the government. We had a ritual set up on our land designed for that. It's basically a ritual that was developed. It was about a meditation and a concentration ritual to teach you how to make contact with your oversoul. And so this particular book was dedicated to educating you, teaching you how to do that. So let's go into some of the concepts that this book talks about. So let's start here from the beginning. Let's see. It says this scroll entitled The Ancient Egyptian Materialization Rite is a ritual based upon the materialization of certain Natharu, right? Through concentration and visualization. The initiate personifies Pa Nathar Amun in a sacred realm mathematically constructed called Pa Istariyat or Pa Istarayit Daka. And that translates as the materialization site. Now, in this ritual, one makes contact with beings that have made themselves known by physical manifestation on this planet throughout time. This ritual is just one of the many doorways to return to the source while yet still in the physical body. So, again, like I said before, this is how you can make contact, how to develop yourself spiritually while you're physically alive, right? So he goes on to say, making available the spiritual link and communication at all times. So once you guys are able to make this contact, you're going to be you will have a perpetual connection to them. Once you learn how to make this contact, right? You will learn more as you are attuned to your own family on the other side. So once you contact your family on the other side, you're going to get more education. They then are going to teach you. Okay? So I'll read that again. In this ritual, one makes contact with beings that have made themselves known by physical manifestation on this planet throughout time. This ritual is just one of the doorways to return to the source while yet still in the physical body, making available the spiritual link and communication at all times. You will learn more as you are attuned to your own family on the other side. Okay? So that's very important to know that, and that's what this book is dedicated to educating you about. So let me skip that, and I'm going to go to the next page. We're on page 4 now. He goes on to say, these rituals are geared towards aligning the individual and reattuning one's inner being with the ancient ones, the Natharu, and nature. So we have more than one ritual on the land for the sole purpose of teaching you how to make contact, guys. This is why they took the land from us. This is why they destroyed it, because this is what the disagreeable ones, Leviathan, has been trying to stop. This is why the Mukasu kidnapped the master teacher to cut him off from teaching us how to develop ourselves, because obviously with the master being gone, it made everything 10 times harder. So each individual has to be able to comprehend this information, and then you develop the rituals to develop themselves. And many people are having a hard time even comprehending our doctrine. This is why I'm even doing these classes, to try to explain these things, guys. So I hope you follow me. So let me start again. It says these rituals are geared towards aligning the individual and reattuning one's inner being with the ancient ones, Panatharu, and nature. For human beings, though they are born mortal, they possess a seed of the divine, a seed simply awaiting the proper ingredients for growth and development. A dormant Nathar awaits to blossom from the great lotus and shine forth as a sun, bringing comfort through facts to all. Thus, this ritual is to materialize the ingredients that split the seed in the earth, which grew all life. The whole universe is an intentional creation. All creation is spiritual in origin. If you think of creation, you will know the importance of sound and vibration. For instance, take the spark, kawun, which caused life to be and elements to come together. It brought forth the reaction that we call hayu, which is life. That word means life, guys, hayu. In that it began as a constant rhythmic form of building, forming, and arranging. He's talking about the creative force and how the creative force, guys, creates that morphic resonance I was talking about. And the morphic resonance, this vibration, this rhythmic energy, this pulsation, that's what manifests or creates the suns, the solar systems, and then the material things on planets. Okay, this is how creation develops through these harmonic tones and vibrations. Let's keep going. In the materialization ritual, this ritual we're talking about, guys, he says, in the materialization ritual, the initiate calls upon his guardian, Amun, to materialize before him by calling his name in a resonant tonation. This causes him to raise his vibrational levels within his arushat or your chakras. You raise your chakras by chanting Amun, right? So that he or she may make contact with his or her oversoul and receive the image of this whole light being. It is through vibrational tones of Amun, that you, the initiate, are able to materialize this Nathar. So he's explaining how this book, this ritual, is dedicated to showing you how to make contact with your oversoul that we identify as Amun. And Amun in our culture, in language, meant the hidden one, because your oversoul is hidden from you, and you have to learn how to as I said it before, mine your mind for the jewels of your soul. So you have to go into yourself, your inner being, what we call the journey within, through meditation, concentration exercises, the chanting, the prayers. All of these things raise your vibration. And once, as it does that, it will open your third eye. And once your third eye is open, you'll be able to see into the other realms. And your oversoul will be able to materialize in front of you. And you'll be able to see it. You'll be able to see yourself, or your higher self, I should say. That's what this book is dedicated to, teaching you how to do that. Okay? Now, so he goes on to say, let's see. He says, you, the initiate, must reattune your soul to the sacred tone of the planet Earth, as well as the universe. For she, the Earth, is alive. She hums and breathes. And we are a part of the Earth. We all are children of Mother Nature. This tone, Amun, is all encompassing and has no limits. It is the medium to the source whose love cannot be contained, for it is ever boundless. Also, Amun, or the sacred tone, the tone which I, Amanubi, Ra'akta, also known in tones as Nathar, Afrati, Atum, Ra'e, your supreme grand hierophant speak of, is the Ain principle, or the sound An. Notice, if you will, that the sound of Amun or An is as the sound of the first letters in the word omniscient, omnipotent, and omnipresent, three attributes of the Supreme. The sound raises from the throat to the tip of the lips. It flows to the center of the head and escapes from the ear. The Hindus got their symbol of Aum from the Egyptians. It's like the Ashoric, Soritic, Arabic letters of Ain and Meme. All right, so he goes into that. Now, let's see where else I want to go into. We're going to jump to page 46 in the same book, because it goes a little bit further into the subject. All right, page 46 and 47. He goes on to say, you, the Tamarian, which is another name for Egyptian, guys, stand at the tetrahedron, a sacred symbol carved in the earth from beings from above, as a sign of the physical world that they are here and can indeed affect the physical and still remain anonymous. So you, the Tamarian, the Nawapian, stand at the tetrahedron. Guys, the tetrahedron, that was the ritual, the site that we built on our land that they destroyed, guys. But he goes on to say, there you take the 9 mental steps of growth as your eyes pierce the 9 sacred symbols that will lead you to your growth and ascension. Where you meet eye to eye with Amun Re, that's your oversoul. He says, human's purpose is to determine by what he or she does with his or her life. The belief in predetermination by a deity that knows your daily actions would leave you in a state of awe as to why, if he knows, does he allow such cruel things to happen. Then the religious individuals driven by faith is quick to say it's a test, which in itself belittles an all-knowing deity who needs not test his creatures if he indeed already knows the inner thoughts of their beings. Yet, NoopooH teaches you growth and development will lead you to reality that there is more to you than the dense body. As you participate in existence, you speak outward from sound that resonates inside for those outside to speak outward from the world outside. When you touch things outside, it is your sensations. You eat things from outside for nutrition or poison. The key point being, you have to be turned inside out to make contact with the spiritual being on the outside. As you do when you pick up a piece of bread and you break it with the intentions of consuming it for nourishment. Amun Re, as a Re, is a source of nutrition that must be contacted through a specific ritual with specific recitations in tones to vibrate inside the head that opens the third eye so that you may see Amun Re standing before you. His image would be your inner being stepping outside. You hear that, guys? His image would be your inner being stepping outside, traveling the 9 steps to the sacred symbols and making contact. Okay, so that's important to know. Let's see, what else? We're going to go same book, and then we're going to go to page 64. Some more points that you need to go. No. So let's see. 64. Okay. All right, so now he goes on to say, through meditation and concentration, one can make a link with spiritual beings that have made themselves known by physical manifestation throughout time. So man, in his or her fear of death, man struggles through a constant battle between agreeable and disagreeable, seeking eternal life by following a deity that regiments laws that keep you in order through threats of incineration. If you obey his command, your reward is to return back to his bosom. That's the whole God concept that teaches you, if you don't follow God, if you commit sin, you're going to burn in hell. You know, that's what he's trying to say. Now he says, return to the source, Hu-He. That's an Egyptian terminology for the creative force. The Tamaray was possible through 3 ways. So there were 3 ways you can return or make contact, right? Or return to the to being in harmony with the universe again. There was 3 ways to do it. He was saying 1 way was through physical death, where the Ka, your spirit, deserts the shell, your physical body, and becomes a part of all, right? So that's 1 way to return. The second way is spiritual death, where the individual gives up its divinity and surrenders to beliefs and faith in the unconfirmed. So spiritual death is when you physically die and your spirit also dies. It dissipates back into the universe. Then number 3, here's the third point of or third way of making contact with the higher realms. He goes on to say, number 3 is ritual, practice, meditation, discipline, self-control, making connection while using the life in the body, and the will of self-determination to focus on a link with the outer world. Thus, one makes contact with the beings that have made themselves known by physical manifestations on this planet, by communications through individuals that confirm their presence by overriding faith and beliefs and replacing it with facts and truth. This ritual is one of the doorways to return to the source while yet still in the physical body and make available the spiritual link and communion at all times. So again, he repeats, this ritual is about making contact while you are alive, making contact with your oversoul first, and then being able to make contact with the masters. And let's see. And there's some more points in this book that we want to get. The last, let's see, page 74, 75. So let's go there. All right, so let's see this. Page 74, 75. It goes on to say this. So when I speak of materialization upon Nathar, it is nothing out of the ordinary. However, because the monotheistic religions refuse to recognize that Natharu, who are extraterrestrials now, he says, the Natharu are extraterrestrials, do personify in human form, because it might add some logical explanation to their religious hyped up stories like the so-called Immaculate Conception. They instead prefer to call me crazy. Materialization or personification can be as simple as vegetation, the regrowth of plants and vegetation on a stem. It is all a part of growth. In ancient Egypt, the symbol of the lotus is a symbol of the personification and birth of Panathar Ra. The Hindus took this symbol and used it for the birth of an avatar. In Nawapic, this word is Muta Jasud. I, Amanubi Ra'akta, am an Illa Muta Jasud, an incarnation in the flesh. I am your spiritual master who incarnates from time to time to dispel of the spell of Amen, ignorance, and to remove you from behind the nine ball with the science called Nawapu, your forgotten science. Okay, so that's a very important point that he made. That when we talk about making contact with these higher spiritual beings, really in today's terminology, it'd just be called ETs. These are beings who exist in other dimensions, other galaxies, other realms, and we have the ability spiritually to communicate with them. And that's what our whole doctrine is based on is teaching us how to make these connections spiritually by first re-educating us about our own spiritual nature, which is what the master teacher has been doing for over the last 50 some odd years. It's trying to re-educate us spiritually about who and what we are. Unfortunately, most of our people lack the discipline to even develop themselves spiritually. That's been our biggest challenge. And that's because of the negative 6 ether forces that has been plaguing us. Okay, last point in this book. So we're going to go to page, I believe we said 128, I believe. This is a very powerful book, guys, just so you know. It's very good. It, unfortunately, it's out of print. I don't even think it's on Scribes for for people to download it for free. I wish it was, because it is very important book for people to have access to. You know. Okay, so this is the last point in this particular book, dealing with your oversoul. It's a very important point he makes here. So he says, I, Amanubi Ra'akta, am here to guide you and to teach you to raise those latent powers of your mind, he says. And he goes on to say, you have arrived yet again on another spiritual quest, as you, the initiate, stand before the great Nathar. Okay, guys, we used to have a statue. For those who don't know, we used to have a statue of Amun, and his body was split in half. He was divided, and the goal of the ritual is to use concentration right? To bring the split into one, to bring it together, to use visualization and your mind, and it triggers by doing this ritual. And of course, you got to do it a whole bunch of times because you're creating how can I say, almost an illusion, you know. He goes on to say, let me just read this before I, rather than try to explain it. He goes on to say, let's see, you arrive yet again on your spiritual quest as you, the initiate, stand before the great Nathar. Yet to your physical eye, the Nathar Shalil Natharat is divided in two. So he was divided in two, the way they had the ritual set up. Through discipline and concentration, you stimulate the powers of your mind, allowing your physical eye to become one single eye, temporarily suspending your sight from the two physical eyes and look inward. This would allow your spiritual eye to become a vessel for receiving Panatha Amun. He, as he materializes himself, or if you're a female, herself, to you and for you. Thus, he or she will become your spiritual guardian. This is the key. Once you achieve this, guys, once you achieve making contact with your oversoul, it goes on to say this: he or she will become your spiritual guardian, who shall remain with you as you travel through this physical journey called Hika. So once you're able to make contact, you'll be in perpetual contact with your oversoul from that point on. And your oversoul will become your personal guardian, your guide, your personal spirit guide. This is what the master teacher is trying to teach, all of us on how to do, guys. So I'm letting you know, or I'm trying to explain to you guys in detail what we mean by first resurrection. This is the goal of first resurrection: being able to make contact before you physically die with your higher self and with the masters. Okay, so I hope that's clear for everyone. So let me move on. Okay, so now there's another book that we put out. It's called El Mugaraj. Now, this is another important book. This is another ritual that we had on the land. This was another ritual for the same purpose. Let's see if I can find it. I can find this particular book. And let's see if I can find it. Okay, I thought I had it. I don't see it. Yes, I do. Here it is. Here it is. Here it is. I'm sorry I didn't have it up earlier. Okay, so this is another book. This was another ritual. This was a ritual dealing with the pyramid that we built on the land. It had the same objective. This particular, this was a book that was teaching us how to do a ritual, and it was dealing with the pyramids that we built on our land. Okay, so let's see if we go to page 34 in this particular book, it goes into that. And so I want to cover this so you guys would know this. Page 34. Let's see. All right, here we go. Okay. So it goes on to say here on page 34. And he's talking about the pyramid that we built. And he's explaining the purpose of pyramids, okay? and why we built the pyramid on our land. What was the purpose of that? Was he's explaining or talking about the reason why we built this particular pyramid on our land. He says another important reason why the pyramids were built was to help humans change their TP hesp, which is your aura, to a more positive frequency. The pyramid is an electrical capacitor designed to help the individual achieve this. It is a tune tank antenna acting as an interdimensional communication device. The pyramid refocuses light into the reverse spiral of the electrons, which is the positive field. The pyramid is an interdimensional. This is the key. The pyramid is an interdimensional communication device given to humans so that they may learn of the positive frequency and make contact with their oversoul and beings. So you make contact with your oversoul and you'll make contact with the Nathar, with your ancestors. So the pyramid served the same purpose. This is one of the reasons why our ancestors built pyramids all over the globe. It was for their own spiritual development. It was also for them to be able to make contact with their ancestors who lived in the other realms, in other galaxies, right? And the pyramids were also used for other things, but I'm just talking about the spiritual reason why the pyramids were used, guys. So that's important to know, because there was a physical reason for the pyramids. Now, he goes on to say, as mentioned previously, the pyramid is an antenna designed to refocus light into the two different electron spirals, the negative field of the physical and the positive field of the spiritual. The human body is in a negative charge, and the pyramid actually is designed to reverse your negative energy into a positive field. I don't have time to explain that. That's a class all to itself, explaining how to do that. But I just wanted to give you more data on this whole concept of resurrection, this whole concept of what our whole goals are as students of Wu-Sabat, right? To again, remember, the goal is to re-educate yourself spiritually, right? So now there is one more, another book on the same subject matter that we're going to deal with, and I guess I was right there, so let me go to it. And we're at the Science of Healing book, okay? And it goes into a very important concept. I think I talked about this once before in another lecture. I forgot when, but this is a very important concept you guys need to know. Now, in order to make contact with your oversoul, you have to open your third eye, right? In order to make contact with your oversoul, you have to open your third eye, and that's what the purpose of the rituals are. So that's important to know. So here's the thing. He goes into talking about this whole concept of opening up your third eye. It says this, number one, this is on page 79 of this particular book, the Science of Healing, page 79 and page 80, just so you know. Now in this book, you can download this book for free because it's out of print, guys. It's out of print. I wish it wasn't, but you can get access to this particular book on Scribes for free. I highly recommend you guys to get access to this. Download this book. Get this particular book because this book is extremely important. I said this before and I'm going to say it again. Any book you can get for free on Scribes, because most of the books that are on there are not in print. So guys, get access to the books because the master teacher has been putting out books for 50 years, since the 70s. Get access to as many books as you possibly can. It'll help you on your journey of development. And I just want you guys to be very clear on what our whole focus and missions are, right? So that's why we're going through this. Now let's go on. So it says the function of the third eye, he goes on to say, number one, all messages received by the physical senses, right, must be sent to the oversoul, which is your etheric body. Your oversoul is your etheric body, your higher spiritual body. This is done through the third eye. So what does that mean? That means that all the things you take into your physical senses is being recorded and downloaded into you, and it's being accessed through your third eye. It's receiving this data, all of this data, all your experiences, because all your experiences are recorded and it's stored in your subconscious mind, guys. So it's important to know that. Number two, he goes on to say, all messages received by the spiritual senses can only be sent to the physical body or physical consciousness by the third eye. So the masters are all, they're sending signals, but in order to pick up that signal, you have to open up your third eye in order for your physical consciousness to be in harmony with those messages that the masters are sending. That's important to know. Then he go on to say, number three, the third eye sends messages of knowledge from one level of the mind to another. And there are three levels of your mind. So you have level one is your normal level, which is your conscious mind, the mind that all of us are conscious on. Then the next level of the mind is your subconscious. That's where all of your memories are stored in your subconscious, guys. And then the next level of the mind is your superconscious. That's your oversoul. When you become connected with your oversoul, you expand your consciousness. Your intelligence will basically go off the charts. once we're able to do that. He goes on to say, your mind has a numerous amount of memory vaults used for storage of the many experiences you have encountered. Although your normal level of consciousness does not possess access to this knowledge, at various times it receives intuition or instinct from the oversoul, which is your etheric body, which does have access to this knowledge. This is the reason you may have stated, I have been here before, or I remember this incident, or I have done this before. The mind levels interlock with each other. One form of message sending is intuition. If the third eye is not sufficiently open or it is disturbed by emotional stress, messages between mind levels may be hindered, delayed, or sometimes completely interrupted. Guys, so this is important to know. Because our third eye is not properly it's not properly polarized. Okay, and I don't have time to explain that, but once your third eye is properly polarized, then you'll be able to receive spiritual communication coming from the higher dimensions. And this is one of the reasons, again, why we're trying to teach for ones to develop themselves spiritually, as we keep talking about it. Let's see. He goes on. Let's go into this. This is good to know. He goes on talking about your third eye in a little bit more detail. He's going to say the third eye serves as an area for perceiving planes of life other than the physical plane. Remember, there are 7 planes, right? We talked about this last week. The material plane, then you have the plane of force, then you have the spiritual plane, you have the mental plane, and then you have other realms above that. But your third eye, once your third eye is open, you'll be able to peer into those other planes, he's saying. He goes on to say, when a person speaks to you, your auditory or hearing system registers the sound of voice, which you relate to his words and place a meaning to it. However, the meaning that a speaker intends to attach by a certain word may not be all the same as the thought you attach to the word. The third eye, through inner sensitivity, receives the sound of the speaker's voice, but also the thought impulses or impressions projecting mentally and emotionally. Thus, you know the exact meaning being communicated to you. Then he says, point number 6. With the eyes, you see the physical objects, and that is all. With the third eye, properly polarized and receptive to the aura or an object, it becomes possible to receive much additional information. You may be able to perceive something or the persons who have been involved with it, or you may sense something of its past history or the history of persons who have been associated with it. Now that's an ability we call psychometry. That's the ability to touch an object and you can perceive where the object came from. You can perceive who owned the object. You can perceive the history of the object because what happens is you're able to tap into that morphic field. And then this is the whole goal. Once you open your third eye, you'll be able to tap into the morphic fields of animate objects as well as inanimate objects. Okay. So that's important for you guys to know. So there's a lot of abilities that we would regain once we learn how to do this. That's the whole point. Okay, so with that, all of that being said, let's move on because that was a lot. uh, let's see. So we did this question last week. How do you know what you are teaching are facts? Right? We teach that all must substantiate what we teach by putting to practice the spiritual knowledge into use. It is not possible to fully understand all that we teach unless one learns how to experience and reason out the concepts we teach about. Okay, guys? So you guys, if you don't do the necessary rituals and work, then none of this, you won't know of any of this things, any of this stuff being true. You have to put it into, you have to prove it, it's the best way I can say. All right. Next is, what is second resurrection, right? Second resurrection is becoming one with your oversoul after you have physically died. Once a righteous person dies, they are spiritually powerful enough to raise their soul force to connect with their etheric self. Okay, so let's see. Let me go to this particular book, Emotional Energy, page 13, and let's see what that says. Emotional Energy, page 13. All right. He goes on to say, this is talking about when you physically die. It says paragraph 100, page 13. Once your inner solar plex flame goes out, you stop breathing or feeding the fire. It needs air to burn. Once this stops, you are dead. The body begins to cool with no more fuel to feed the fire. The body dries, the flesh rots, and time stops for the you, which you named at birth. You're then to the end. Yet, if there was more to you than feeding your flesh, blood, lustful desires, then and only then is there no end. You are received by those you trusted, raised to higher abodes. Unlike the Tamhu, this is their end. Their end is here and not there. Okay. So he was saying that for those of us who've been doing the rituals, who are positive, who are agreeable people, you will, even though you didn't make first resurrection, you can make it once you physically die. You still can resurrect. If you were a highly spiritual person, you was a positive individual and you lived righteously, you still can make contact, you still can cross over. So that's important to know. All right, so let's see. Let's go back. Says, what happens if you don't resurrect? Question, what happens if you don't resurrect? One of two things can happen to a person if they don't resurrect, which is one, they reincarnate into a new body as a baby to live again, which is like a second chance to resurrect in this new life. Or the person can become a disembodied spirit who is destined to fade back into the all, right? Okay, so now that goes into another particular book we're going to cover, which is the Master Secrets number 10. We're going to go into that. But before we go into that, because that's also a little bit involved, I want to finish through some of these other questions. It says, what is the importance of this right knowledge? Right? So that's the question. What is the importance of this right knowledge? Answer. This right knowledge answers the life-old question of what happens to us when we die. Is there life after death? And how can I experience this higher spiritual life? Humans are plagued by their spiritual ignorance. This is the first time people are given the real facts about life and death. We must realize that we live in a world for the past 2,500 years ruled by religious minds who have persecuted millions of people because they are not believers. We live in a world where people wage war on each other because of their different religious beliefs. We live in a world where people foolishly spend their life earnings supporting religious beliefs that has no historical or scientific basis. We live in a world where people are plagued by disembodied spirits who influence people to make emotional, irrational decisions based on their uncontrollable lusts. Know that uncontrolled lust is the cause of most crimes, drug addictions, food addictions, bad sexual behavior, a culture of greed and hoarding. All of these behaviors are symptoms of spiritual ignorance. The world will remain in a state of chaos as long as the people of earth remain spiritually ignorant. This is why people cry when they lose a loved one, or why they go crazy because they see ghosts and are plagued by voices in their head or nightmares, or why the UFO phenomenon is such a mystery. Mentally dead people are the cause of all these earthly problems, and humans must resurrect from these conditions. Plus, you now know if you don't resurrect, you have 24,000 reincarnation cycles. We talked about that last week, guys. The question to ask is, how many times have you incarnated on earth because you failed to learn your lesson? Right? Meaning, if you had to reincarnate, that's only because your last incarnation, you failed to resurrect. That's in essence what's being said. Now, let's keep going. Question: how do I make certain that I resurrect, and what happens after I do? Answer: in order for anyone to resurrect into the higher abodes, one must rid themselves of their selfish ego. It is our personal selfish desires that bound us to this dimension. You must learn to live a life of service to others for the benefits of life. You work to master the principles of what it means to be a Sabaean, right? So that's the goal, to work to master the principles of what does it mean to be a Sabaean. And we go over those principles at the beginning of our discussion every single week, right? And what are the principles? What does it mean to be a Sabaean? A Sabaean is someone who is thoughtful and cares, someone who is helpful and honest, someone who is responsible and hardworking, someone who demands justice and honorable, someone who is righteous and humble, someone who is positive and cheerful, someone who is loving and peaceful, someone who is kind and considerate, and someone who is neat, clean, and orderly. Guys, so these are the key principles and attributes of what a Sabaean is, and this is what it takes to resurrect, to practice these things, to make this a part of who and what you are. I can't stress that enough. Now, we also say refer to another book, Is There Life After Death? Page 82 and 84. The master teacher talks about what does it take, to what are the things you have to do in order to be someone who will resurrect, right? Because that's the question. All right, so let's go to page 52. He goes on to say this. If you want to, how do you guarantee? What's the question again? I'm sorry. Let me go back. Question is, how do I make certain that I resurrect and what happens after I do? That was the question. He goes on to say this. Those who become one with the eternal God will be putting on immortality. Refer to 1 Corinthians chapter 15. Guys, remember when we say God in this, we're talking about the creative force. But if you have to die first, take my word for it, you will taste hell. The mentally resurrected would dress like him. He's talking about your Christ consciousness now. When they're talking about Jesus Christ, he said the mentally resurrected would dress like him, eat like him, sleep like him, talk like him. This would continue on until it was instilled in the children, giving them a culture and identity. These are the things you have been stripped of. However, once this instilled pride of who you are is restored, the raising of the 144,000 can begin. I am sent here to you to prepare for this era so that the 144,000 perfect beings who are raised incorruptibly and in purity can be taken up like the prophets that have ascended or have been translated or taken up, he says. He also goes on to say, the wise ones apply their hearts to knowledge, right knowledge, so that they might understand the purpose of their lives before these last days. Were you not placed here for a purpose? Whose purpose? And to what end? It is explained in the noble Quran, and I quote, Quran chapter 56 says this: we have created you all. Why do you not have trust? Haven't you all seen the semen you ejaculate? Is it you that created it, or we, the creators? We have made death a part of your fate, and nothing can overcome us, in order that we may change your likeness, your physical appearance, and to make you grow into a form which is spiritual. You go from a physical being to a spiritual being, which you know not. And that's a quote from the Quran. Point being is, you have to live righteously, right? This is how you guarantee your ability to resurrect, which is what our subject is all about. All right. So also the Panabab, he also talks about this. This was in an update the master teacher had put out, and it's about your soul and your spirit, and it's something you need to understand about your soul and your spirit. He says, in relation to the body or physical, the soul is the placenta, the spirit is the yolk, and the shell is the body that houses it. The placenta is what attaches the body to the other world and supplies the spirit with energy. They do not want you to know these things. And there is a difference between the Nagato, which is black people, and the Kakasu. The soul is the life of the emotional body. The soul is from the reservoir of all, right? So the soul comes from the blackness, is what he's saying. The spirit is the all. When you say the difference between the all, you're talking about a universe, right? As opposed to all, which is the blackness of existence that grow all the universes, okay? So the soul is the reservoir of all. The spirit is the all, and the body is, because the body comes from the earth. The body's made of the elements of the earth, guys. Now, the all is, I am. The soul is unconditioned, right? That's the blackness, all existence. The spirit is conditioned. Your spirit comes from the universe. That's how you get your spirit energy from the universe that you incarnate into. And the body is conditioned. Your body comes from the elements of the earth, the planet you incarnate onto. Once the soul separates from the body, it's like the placenta separating from the body. The soul either goes to Orion, aka known as Sa'a, or Cyrus, aka Sabaean. Guys, so this is what happens to those who resurrect. You can either go to Orion, right? Your soul. Once it connects with your soul force connects with your higher spiritual self, which is your oversoul. Okay. Once that connects, you'll be able to be transported to either Orion or Cyrus, or Cyrus is called Sabaean. That's one of the reasons why we call ourselves Sabaeans, because we come from that star constellation. That was something that our ancestors would talk about. We come from these star constellations. He goes on to say, know that for those who resurrect will be taken up in the mother craft to be taught for 1,000 years, then come back to reclaim the earth from 6 ether forces. This is something else the master teacher goes into. Okay. For those of us who resurrect under students of the master. Let me see. There's a tape the master talks about this concept of resurrection. I want you guys to listen to. I'm going to play it real quick. It's not long, but it's something I think you guys need to hear.
Assalamu alaikum. When it speak of in the book of Revelation 20 verse 4 about the 1,000-year period, is that of the same duration of our days?
Read the section you're talking about.
And I saw thrones, and they that sat upon them, and judgment was given unto them. And I saw the souls of them that were beheaded for the witness of Jesus, and for the word of Allah, and which had not worshipped the beast, neither his image, neither had received his mark upon their foreheads or in their hands. And they lived and reigned with Christ 1,000 years.
And the question is, brother?
The question is those days, 1,000 years, is of the same duration of our days that we live?
Yes. Yes, they are, but in this respect. When they say lived and reigned, you're talking about the Merillion. Lived and reigned with Messiah for 1,000 years, they mean not here. They mean in the crystal city. What they speak about is a new Jerusalem that comes down out of heaven, having 24 elders surrounding it. That is an actual, what you might call space station from here. That's a crystal city in the Quran referred to as Darul Islam, the abode of peace. Darul Islam in the Quran is not on earth. You follow? And so now, yes, these 144,000 will be lifted from earth, taken up like the scripture says. Isa ibn Maryam went up, and Rasulullah Muhammad went up in the Isra, and Ilyas went up, and Enoch or Idris went up. These elders, these 23 elders, will take 144,000 perfect beings here up, and they will reside in the crystal city for 1,000 years to be taught by what you refer to as extraterrestrials, or the masters, who have been visiting the pyramids for thousands of years. And that 1,000-year period can be a duration of either 1,000 by your time or 1,000 by their time. By that I mean, when you break the speed of light, which is necessary to get out of Earth's atmosphere, and we know light travels 186,272 feet per second. When you break the speed of light, time starts to slow up at a certain point. So to travel intergalactically from one part of a galaxy to the next, you would not lose a second. In fact, you can become younger when you arrive there. The same way you can travel from one side of your planet to the next and be behind time. You can leave on Thursday and arrive there on Wednesday the same week. You follow? That's because of a time belt here. That's one law of time. There, galactically, the solar system has a time belt by distance. When you break a certain speed, then you reverse in time. Meaning that when Nabi Musa, alayhi salatu wasalam, Moses, left from Mount Moriah with the aid of the angels and went on to Malakut, which is referred to in the Quran as the heavens, Samawat of Allah. When he went there, by the time he got to the other side, he was the same exact age, one day, which would have taken 1,000 years of earth time to get that far. Because, like I said, light travels at 186,272 feet per second.
Right.
And a light year there with times 365 would be 5 trillion miles away. This particular galaxy alone, Tira, to another side, it can take 1,000 years of your time, which means Musa alayhi salatu wasalam would have became 1,000 years old by the time he got to the destination. You see? But when he breaks speed, when he arrives, he's the exact same age. When he returned, him and Elijah, to Jesus to meet him, they were still the same age, though Elijah had left over 4,000 years before him, and Moses another 4,000 and came back at Jesus' time another 2. You see what I'm saying? So there's a time, though, it depends on where you are. And that shows you, because I'll give you a perfect example. If you look from Seattle, Washington to Florida, the higher you get, the smaller it becomes, until it moves from miles to yards to inches to fractions of an inch, until the United States becomes a dot. So the distance it would take mentally to travel from Seattle, Washington to Florida is less than a second. Then the higher you go, it's so short the distance that you can't conceive it because you merely see a dot. Again.
Now let me stop right there. So again, he's talking about those who were chosen among the 144,000 purified souls will be taken by the masters and educated. Okay, and this is reiterated, and he goes into this on numerous occasions, but book The Man from the Planet Risk, on page 33, he says it right here. He says, I am here in order to prepare 144,000, those chosen to be picked up by the mother plane or Nibiru by way of a mothership, also called the Crystal City, that will release smaller passenger crafts called shams, meaning up there. They will be taken up for 1,000 years, then return to save this planet with their appointed Elo or Tammuz, who is of the Anunnaki, Elohim, or the Nathar guys. Okay, so this is the goal, one of the goals of the master teacher. So once you guys make contact with your oversoul, you will get all the details about all of this stuff. That's how you verify it. This is how you verify all of the things that the master teacher has been teaching, is by you making contact with your higher spiritual self, and then you will get access to this information, the details. Okay, so that's important to know. Next question. Has there been any students of Panabab Yananan that has resurrected? Answer, yes. Panabab Yananan has informed us that there are students who has resurrected. Some of their names are, and this is information he put out in a visit when students came to visit him. This was in October the 28th, 2008 visit. He says people who moved on to the other side were in the visit. A brother named Moeen, guys, I knew Moeen, he transitioned. Samira, I knew her, she transitioned. And another brother named Matun, I knew Matun. In fact, I used to hang out with Matun, and he transitioned. And Matun was kind of like a guide to me when I first came into the doctrine, because he used to peddle, he used to sell his stuff. And when I lived out in the Bronx, he used to be out there and he would sell his stuff on, he had his table and he would sell the books. And I used to sit with him a lot and talk with him. All three of these individuals were students of the master, and all three of them had transitioned. Okay. And so the master said that they're with the masters. They transitioned and they're with the masters. So they would be what I call the second resurrection. They physically die, but they were still able to make contact, and they with the master. This is the master's talking about, because he goes on to say in the visit. Let me read this again. He says people who moved on to the other side were in the visit. So these three individuals who were students of the master, they was in when students here on earth, let me try to make this make sense. The students came to visit the master teacher because he's locked in their prison. And these are students who physically died, And they were also in the spirit form at that prison visit. Okay. The master was able to communicate with them spiritually and talk to the people who was visiting him in the prison physically, because the master is able to see into the other dimension. So he was communicating with both sides, at this visit, right? So he goes on to say, they hang out together on the other side, he says. As Nawapians, they can come in and out at will. They are helping out on the other side. Our ancestors are trying to communicate with us. If we relax, we can communicate with loved ones on the other side, he says. Guys. So that's important. And then next question, last question. What is the purpose of learning this right knowledge? Right? Answer. The goal of every student of Wu-Sabat is to live what we teach and to spread this knowledge to all those who are ready for it. We change the world by giving the people of Earth this right knowledge about existence, because the powers that be rule the peoples because of their ignorance of these facts of life. If we want change for the better, then we must be that example we want to see in others. Remember, knowledge rules ignorance. Mind your mind for the jewel of your soul. Okay? So now we're going to go back. We're going to go into, because we have some more time, we're going to get into this particular book that goes into the, let's see. This is a Master of Secrets. It's called The Cycles of Life and Death. Now, this talks about those who physically die and you either don't resurrect. What happens to you if you don't resurrect, right? And versus those who do resurrect. So it goes on to say what happens, what's the whole process when someone transitions, physically transition. Okay. So we're gonna get into this. This is important. So let me further start off with the first page. Pad Dawa at Shalil Tahye Wu Tamwut. It translates as the cycles of life and death. He goes on to say, only fools duck when the truth is thrown at them. Lekum Nawab-u Khrad-u. For you, all Nawapians, children of Ra'e, the sun, know these actual facts about yourself, as everyone keeps asking, what is your religion? Well, NoopooH is the mental resurrector. It is the new Hebrewism, the new Christianism, the new Islamism, able to break the spell of those triads of the Adamite religions used over 4,000 years to separate you from your Sayim, divine self. Adamu, or the Laben Salal, the white race teachings is to worship their image and act like them based on faith, belief, and no facts or confirmations. You are ordered by their self-made lords to believe in Sheyenus, nothingness, that they call God, deity, or spookism. NoopooH breaks the Hajj Shilil Taj Hal, the spell of ignorance, with actual facts. What is present and future? Your Qadar, faith, not the cock, belief. And Wu-Nawab is the science of sound right reason. It is our animism, a Latin word meaning anima or soul. And in Nawapic, it's Ba, soul. We are soul people by Salal, which is race. Pa Ba is soul, or the emotional being of you. Ta Ta'af, emotion, is E equal energy in motion, which is Harat, which is movement. And this must remain in rhythm, a word of Greek origin, which means kaius, measure. As soul people, you are in rhythm with tabayal taba, which is natural nature, which is chayui, alive, chaway, breathes, and hayus, vibrates, which is sound. or muzak of life, a part of your natural nature as Nawab-U. Nawapians, you Hazuz vibrate. So you are Sawat, sound, Lawan, color, rhythm, and Kawun exists. So you are color. That is all Lawanat. Colors come from Khamet, which is black, which is you. You are rhythm. That is all movement, measured to the right in all directions. Your dance. None dances as Khamatu, the blacks. You are sound. That is your khatat, body vibrates, and it's samim mazak, divine music, in tune with this Wahu Mukwam universe and this Kawat planet, and your khatat body. 24 genomes, 24 miles circumference, 24 hours, day and night, 24,000 years in the equinox, 24 karat gold is marked at 99.9% pure gold, which is Nabat in Nawapic. You are the supreme black people grown on this planet called Sector 24, District 24, and Project 24. You are its timekeepers and are assigned 24 Mukwanu, beings of old, 24 Mukdalu, elders, as Muntaru, overseers. 12 is feminine from Sabaat, which is Cyrus, and 12 is masculine from Sa'at, Orion star system. NoopooH is dual in power and plural in purpose, and includes Pa Asha, the female, and Pa Ayash, the male principles. Vanastasu, the feminine, as nine mind and masculine, linear, or the bloodline. And with this scientific way, natural nature's rules, not laws, repeat as explained in all our works of Wu-Nawab. The intelligence of rules and order, equity, and justice is all natural and unnatural, is working to disrupt the natural rules of nature by unnatural laws of mankind, the made man from 6,000 years ago, who has grown like a virus around the planet. As viruses mutate, he, the Adamites, also has mutated into others, Hazabat cultures, and spread their disease nature to others. The etymological meaning of the word nature is being, existence, and all things, in all, the all, in all, which is omni. Khalid, eternal, Ayin, infinite, and Kawun, being, which became three major existences: the existence of Fasa, which is space, the existence of Made, which is matter, and the existence of Wakat, which is time. So, guys, existence is based on space, matter, and time. That means the SMAT circle, right? And we always talk about the SMAT circle. And here's the image of the SMAT circle. And the SMAT circle is based on space, matter, and time. Okay. And for those who need more information on that, definitely watch the lectures we did on the African science of existence, guys. Check those lectures out. It was like 4-part series. And these three most major beings are inseparable. Why? Because one cannot exist without the Yakha'u, the other. The three are one, as 3 times 8 equals 24 hours of the Zamut, day, and Layut, night. The 3 becomes 1. The same as gas or steam, liquid or water, solid or ice. The same as your physical body are also in threes. 33 and a third is from your mother, 33 and a third is from your father genes, and 33 and a third is made up of you, your personality. The 3 becomes 1. The khatat, your body, the ka'ah, your spirit, and the ba'ah, your soul. So these original 3 powers of absolute natural nature are inseparable unity with each other. Absolute nature is all Nagaru and all places and all things before others in past, present, and future, then, now, and then. Space cannot exist without material because nothingness existed before something or the first atomic sum or weight of hydrogen. And if there were no material matter ever, there would never be any consciousness to know and announce that space exists. In other words, NoopooH, if there is no consciousness of the existence of a person, place, or thing, as far as knowing is concerned, that person, place, or thing does not exist. Fasa, which is space, the first member of the triad of existence, is farag, vacuum, and tamim is perfect, for it cannot change and cannot be changed because it is no thingness, nothingness. Space is infinite vacuum, yet it can give ladud birth and ghayor transform within itself into something, such as hydrogen to helium to a sun. This is then the unmoved mover, which is what space is. Space does not move, guys, but allows material to move within it. Okay. That is, it facilitates the movement of all by offering no resistance to the movement of material and can birth within herself, as in this existence. Space equals dark energy, matter equals dark material, and time equals the dark hole. Okay, so now I'm going to skip there and move on to another section that's important. Now, so he goes on to say, this is paragraph 81. Just as in life and death, each of you have a purpose, guys. If you have not accomplished your purpose, once you die, you will be drawn toward a bright white light to return back to life and live again. This is repeated 24 times to 24,000 times, depending on how many lives it takes for your perfection as a divine being to turn inside out and outside in. So that's your purpose, guys, to resurrect. And you get 24,000 lifetimes to do it. Now he goes from beast to man to human to Hu, a deity, you, who personifies the authority of being. Pa Pa'ut, Joef Pa'ut, the all in all. So each person lives many lives until perfection is obtained. This may be your first, or this may be your last time from 24 lives to 24,000 genomes or lives you've lived. Pa Wakut, the time is not linear, it is circular, in fact, spiral. Time as life moves in circles or cycles. Often you will repeat and feel like, I have done this before. I have been here before. I know that person that I've never met in this life cycle. This is why you made the clock a circle, a way of keeping time, and it repeats every 24 hours. Those of your lineage who have died and crossed over watch over you in this life and will come to meet and greet you at death. They try to help you in each life to guide you in the best direction. For most of you, because of the religions you accepted after birth, you ignore their signs who speak inside of you that say, don't do this or that. Don't try that. Slow down or danger. Guys, this is why we resurrect. So you wouldn't have to get those vague impressions that the master's talking about. Because people, they don't know their spiritual nature. They don't know how to make contact, and you'll get guidance on the other side once you learn how to make contact. That's what he's saying. Let's go on. Yet, because of religions, ignorance, a blind faith in fictional stories made up by the Adamites for Adamites, many of our race are disconnected from their own lineage to the divine in us, which is the nine ether, by way of mother or Vanastasu, the feminine. Most are misguided by a patriotic male god or Tayaf, a ghost worship, or masculine lineage. Once separated from the mother's umbilical cord or navel, Latin means ship, that is in the waters of the womb. Once in this dry state, cut off from the other or matriarch, the Adamites' religion causes matricide, meaning murder of one's mother. You lose respect for our deity, the woman. You accept the concept of deity, God, as male, a man, and ignore natural nature's rules on birth or the female. A zazata'u, a woman who gives ladud, birth. Shakalu at forms, shapes, fashions, creates forms, and grows you in her womb. So once you die, being cut off, you enter the white light and return to this physical world, avoiding the darkness of the boundless omniverse, of returning to Pa'ut. Remember, paradise is at the foot of your Mudatet, your mother. She keeps the records of your lives in her mitochondria DNA of her 24,000 genomes. She is our clock of time. She is eternal. So Nuwapians of animism, as animists of Africa, I am a Bassa tribe in Liberia, West Africa, with Akan and Dungalaway and Yamasi Native American. Yet that is all only the physical me. Look much deeper and you'll see Panabab Yanun. So you are of my seed and I of my mother's seed, on back as male to my lineage, or masculine, who all grew out of feminine. As all of you, the readers of this teachings of factology, should now plainly see, the infinite, eternal, absolute space is the unmoved mover of all, the container for Pa'ut, the all, the place of us all as Pa'ut, the all in Pa'ut, all, the blackness for Pa'ut, all, the germinator of all, the balancer for all, the magic magnetic secret of Pa'ut, which is all, the first member of the existence triad of natural nature. Okay, so now I'm going to move down to here. So he goes on to say, as you look on and say to yourself, such skills, such talents, the same with renewing our story so perfectly. As you look at the walls in ancient Egypt, you see such fine and well covered hieroglyphics like none nowhere else. You say that is fine and perfect work. How can a man do such a perfect work such as that? It's the spirits of her or his Salafu ancestors working through them as your ancestors worked through my pen. So when we as Amunists of Wunawap look at a statue of one or more of our ancestors who once lived, it's the same as today. A person holds a photo of a relative or loved one who has died. Is that idol worship? Idol worship? No. We see the skill of the sculptor who worked to bring the image to life, that one may look upon it and remember their ancestors, relatives, or loved ones. Is that idol worship? No. We don't worship the stone statue. It's the skill of the artist, and that unique skill was passed on to the artist by way of their genes from their relatives. This is why most anyone can learn music and how to play, yet are not experts at that talent, while others are gifted. A gift passed on from the relatives in their DNA, in their mind, that helps to move their hands. The mind from the mental link back to your own ancestors. That is what makes them divine, the emotional effect it has on us. Let me move on. He goes on to say, yet that is a man-made law, and if they die doing that, hold on. I'm sorry, let me stop it. Be it a photo or a song, a picture, the way the object affects our inner emotions is why we have statues of our ancestors, and the gifts of the maker is the link back to them. Now, each person born has a purpose at birth until death. Some are interrupted because they completed that purpose at a young age and may not even know it. Some become ill for things they have done or have not done with their physical shell or body and die before they have accomplished their purpose, such as not exercising, bad eating habits, unhealthy food and drinks. Some are killed doing what nature had not planned for them, such as to join a group of humans who took it upon themselves to rule others. They put on a uniform and take a weapon to kill, or as they would say, protect. Yet, this is a man-made law, and if they die doing that, they have not completed their natural nature's purpose and must come back in another body to complete their purpose. Some live their whole lives, birth to death, and have not completed their purpose for this life. Once they die, they are pulled into a white light. As you know, light is created in darkness. So white light leads back to this world of created things, and they are born again to have another life with a purpose. If you kill a human, you return to this life and will be killed. This can repeat in cycles from 24 times to 24,000 times. If they don't complete their purpose after 24,000 lives, they will be evaporated into nothingness. If one is born in this world, they are linked to their 4 generations of relatives, and if they have crossed over, they will help and guide them to accomplish their purpose in this one lifetime if they don't themselves. Yet foreign religious beliefs often teaches them to ignore their own relatives, trying to reach out to them from the spirit world, as their religions tell them to call on their Holy Ghost of others, ancestors such as Jesus of the Hebrews, from Abraham, a Chaldean, not of Africa, but of Mesopotamia, or Muhammad and Adar of that same foreign bloodline, linked to their own relatives who can't hear nor help you. In following those foreign religions, you block communication with your own, for they teach you it's wrong to speak to the deceased unless it's one of their dead, such as Jesus or Muhammad or saints, who tell you they will help you when in fact they never do. You only find out it was lies once you die, and they call you to the white light to return back to the world. Or your spirit gets trapped in between, and you're a lost ghost wandering here on earth, unable to reach your own relative spirits to help you cross over into the eternal darkness of which all came. Even their light was created in darkness outside of earth. Outside of earth is darkness and space. All lights out there are dying out, even this sun. Note in their own Bible, Genesis chapter 1, their spirit of God, or Elohim, or God who came down, he said, "Let there be light." So he was originally in darkness. This sun is burning out. Darkness exists and always has. Light was created inside of darkness, as this world started being created at the creation of this sun of hydrogen to helium to light. So true eternity is in darkness. The light is the fire they try to lead you to at death into their state of light, and you will be trapped or return into another body or become a hunter of this place. And if a person commits suicide, they automatically come back to another life. And how you die also affects your state of being, such as a traumatic death stamps you in that state as a residual to repeat that traumatic incident or accident until you are freed by a close relative on this side or the other, or a median of your own race genetics. And when you die, it also affects your state of being. A normal death, yet with relatives cut off by your religious beliefs, can result in you becoming a trapped spirit, an orb, an apparition, a specter, until a person who is a median or close relative is able to free you. Now, this is the Hamem Salal, the black race, and the Javad Salal, the Dravidian races, and the Mungal Salal, the Asian races. This does not include the Kakasu Salal. You need your Ba, your soul, to carry your spirit to join your etheric being. And it takes energy or your soul for this. The Labin Salal, the white race, has no soul, just as animals. They do have a spirit and only a sixth etheric energy, not enough to raise up to the seventh ether as the Asians and the eighth ether as the Dravidian or East Indians. Note, much mixing has caused many to lose their souls, and others of the black race, the brown races, and the yellow races to lose their full soul powers. And like the red, that is race, that is the white race will, or like them, they will be trapped on this level once dead as ghosts or specters or spirits or aberrations to be tormented by demons, ghouls, jinns, devils, and other beings who were sent to this realm on the spirit side from other dominions or star systems and can't incarnate, so they plague the living. So, Nuwapians, it's very important that you keep a positive link with your relatives and our own ancestors who are on the other side. They are called familiar spirits. If you refer to Deuteronomy chapter 18 and Leviticus chapter 20, talks about this. Never ever say that your relatives, he or she has gone or departed or left or deceased. These tones push them onward. Always say cross over on the other side in another dimension and never out of reach. If you open up to them, they can and will hear you. They can and will help guide and protect you. You must learn to listen to them and not fear them. They are watching you. They come when you call on them. Don't have canines in your home or they will avoid that place. If you doubt, they move away. Do not ever play with Ouija boards. The word is of two parts, both meaning yes. You're welcoming anything from other dimensions to cross over and even enter you or whoever plays with them. Once they do, they stay with you and follow you until you burn that same board you played with, not break it or cast it away. You must burn it yourself, or those spirits, ghosts, demons, and others will attach to you and can pass on to your children and haunt them. They can hurt you and even kill, make you sick, destroy your friendships and relationships. They seek to use you to feel and live again. They also can sexually abuse you. Witchcraft, Wiccan, devil worship, and other forms of spirit contact is very dangerous. As life is real, also death is real, as you have a living self in your body. Once the body is dead, that self lives on cycle after cycle, or 24 to 24,000 rebirths until you perfect your being and you are ready to return to the divine. Remember, the religions of the Bible and the Quran are asking you to worship a spirit or spirits called God, Allah, and or Malek, angels, which are ghosts. They tell you to pray for these forces to enter your body. Yet, when they are asked just where they are, they don't know. When asked exactly what they are or made of, they can't explain that to you. So, in accepting their belief systems, you're opening yourself up to whatever to take over your life and free will. Remember to investigate. This could be your last cycle or your first, and you need to be prepared for the next Anak, life after life, to enter the Laben Nawar, the white light, or be reborn in this physical world or into the blackness of eternity. Your soul does not need physical light to see. Only in this physical world you need eyes to see. Your etheric being is nine ether, is a perfect being. And once you cross over, you begin learning all there is to know, able to travel through time and space, in and out of other dimensions, and meet all your ancestors, friends, and loved ones, because you become a helper who guide your unborn relatives beyond time and place. You become a Nabab, a master of both heaven and earth, or both realms, 360 degrees of this realm, which is the physical, and 360 degrees of the spiritual realm. That's 720 degrees, making you a deity, a Samim Mukwam, a divine being, as I am, Panabab Yananum. Okay, so I hope that addresses a lot of any questions and concerns in this subject matter. It is about that time, but I thought this was very, very, very important that I get this information out, guys. You know, it is. So I'm gonna go through our 9 p.m. prayers, right? And then after that, if anyone has any questions or concerns about what we're talking about this week or what we talked about last week, do not hesitate to ask, because that's why we're here, to address your questions. And this is a very, as you should guys understand, this is a very important subject matter. It's a very important subject matter. So I do say take your time, watch these lectures again, because it's very important. We covered a lot of information, a lot of information. Okay. So I'm gonna do our 9 p.m. prayers. And then after that, if you have any questions and concerns, I'll address them. Okay. Let's get started. Again, for those who are not familiar with our prayer systems, I do it in our language, Sabaean, right? But you can read the English. Okay. So definitely, for those who do not know, you can read the English and listen. The key to the prayers is the tones, guys. I can't say that enough. The keys to the prayers is the tones to create a certain vibration in the body. That's why we say learn the prayers in these tones. Now, it's good to say it in English to understand what we're saying. That's important. But the key is the tone, because through the tones and the emotions, you apply emotions to it, right? And this is what helps raise your vibration. So that's why we do these rituals. So let's get started. Bade Kala Namasat Wu Fakor Amad Kasem un Shalal Pu'ut Pa Takyu Anuki Giraffe Pa Ashuk Impa Pu'ut Wu Kala Ashuk Kawum Giraffe Nia Anuki Kasam un Impa Pu'ut Wu Pa Pu'ut Kawun Kasam un Imnia Anuki Wahu Amad Pa Pu'ut Wu Pa Pu'ut Kawun Wahu Amad Nia Nakuk Kador Naju Amad Kasamun Impa Pu'ut Wu Khabu Amad Mushkasun Nakuk Kador Kawan Kalab Pafaf Nakuk Daya Jaweb Pa Pu'ut Amad Wase Amad Dayani Kawun Lake Bakui Jaweb Pa Pu'ut Anuki Yabab B Nafasni Pa Pu'ut Kawun Anuki Pa Pu'ut Kador Nakuk Kador Pa Pu'ut Amul Nakuk Amul Lahehum Menahnun. Lahehum Menahnun. Ahumata Karehum. Ahumata Karekum. Ahumata Karenun. Ahumata Jawefnia. Ahumata Niyawu Anukihum. Yaye Ashuk Re'e. Asmua Jayenun. Yaye Nataru Afuknun. Anunata Mukraukum. Yaye Nataru Afuknun. Afuknun, Afuknun, Yaye Natarunun, Anun, Atun, Atun, Amun. Namazo Wahu, Yaye Mufaku. Yaye Hu, Yaye Hu, Yaye Notaru. Yaye Soye, Yaye Soye, Yaye Notaru. Yaye Hika, Yaye Hika, Yaye Notaru. Ankum at the Pa Mufaku. Yaye Hu, Yaye Hu, Yaye Notaru. Ankum at the Pa Mufaku. Wu Anun at the Mukra Ukum. Wu Ankum at the Musanun. Yayehu, Yayehu, Yaye Nataru. Aro Muxlasnun Atumbreye. Yayehu, Yayehu, Yaye Nataru. Namazo Atu, Aro and Hu. Yaye Muktamu Afutnun. And Kumane Yakela Duda Muslafunun. Wu Muisarnun. Mane Yake Suwuda Paba. Mane Yake Kawuna Kau. Mane Yake Ata Akak. Mane Yake Kawuna Bashar Wu Damam. Yaye Nataru Muktamunun. Aro Muftanun. Anhu Kawun Muzam Mane Pa Nataru. Aro Anhu. Anhu Kawun Baba Yananan. Aro Anhu Kawun Atum Re'e. Aro Anhu Kawun Haror. Namazo Talo. Yaye Nataru Muslafunun. Afutnum Mene Pa Mujwa'u. Afutnum Mene Gal Ha'an. Yaye Nataru Afutnun. Mene Khayar Sayar Khayara. Afutnun Afutniya. Afutniya. Yaye Nataru Nun. Namazo Rabu Pa Takmui. Nakuk Talub Takmui Bi Pa Nataru. Mane Pa La'en Lawi Tanen U. Kale Horanu Ani Ata Lahe Pa Nataru. Wu Kale Namazo Ani Ata Lahe Kayat Yakun Laye Pa Nataru. Pa Sawa Wu Pa Toruk. Pane Misfa Kawun. Pa Sawa Wu Pa Toruk. Z Kawuna Nazula Lahe Enkun. Mane Masbat Wu Masa. Ame Hade En Wu Damal Mane Moslafu Kun Wu Notaru Ajula Ye Nafasu Kun Afuk Shene Kawun Kun Pa Sawa Wu Pa Turuk Pa Hadean Wu Pa Shefe Anun Tawo En Kun Lahe Panen Dama Wu Shefe Anun Tawo En Kun Lahe Tem Nasui Nun Anun Tawo Ankum Lahe Ashukuma Ankum at the Muslafunun Anun at the Mukra Ukum Anun Talub Nasar Kuma Anun Talub Nasar Kuma and so nun kahen nataru and so nun muslafunun Anun at the Musbatu Anun, Atun, Atun, Amun. Yaye u nataru nun. Yaye muftaru, yaye nataru. Yaye atum re'e, yaye natar. Yaye nun. Yaye natar, yaye nuntat, yaye natar tat, yaye ha, yaye natar, yaye hatat, yaye natar tat, yaye kak, yaye natar, yaye kaktat, yaye natar tat, yaye amun, yaye natar, yaye amuntat, yaye natar tat, yaye atum, yaye nathar, yaye shishash, yaye nathar, yaye tafaf natat, yaye nathar tat, yaye sabab, yaye nathar, yaye natat, yaye nathar tat, yaye arash tat, yaye nathar tat, yaye asar, yaye nathar, yaye nabab hatat, hatat, ya ye nathar tat, ya ye satak, ya ye nathar, ya ye hara, ya ye nathar, ya ye haptwi, ya ye nathar, ya ye anaktat, ya ye nathar tat, ya ye aha haratwi, ya ye nathar, ya ye nafartum, ya ye nathar, ya ye manthu, ya ye nathar, ya ye bapti, ya ye nathar, ya ye sakhamtat, ya ye nathar tat, ya ye hatat haratat, ya ye nathar tat, ya ye baibis, ya ye nathar, ya ye patatanu, papatata, ya ye patata, ya ye nathar, ya ye basastat, ya ye nathar tat, ya ye inhatat, ya ye nathar, ya ye hu, ya ye nathar, ya ye matat, ya ye nathar tat, ya ye mahat, ya ye nathar tat, ya ye khafre'e, ya ye nathar, ya ye mishkanat, ya ye nathar tat, ya ye rayetat, ya ye nathar tat, ya ye kintimate to you, ya ye nathar, ya ye hik'ah, ya ye nathar tat, ya ye nathar tat, ya ye nathar tat, ya ye ma'at, ya ye nathar tat, ya ye renantat, ya ye nathar tat, ya ye she, ya ye nathar tat, ya ye sashat, ya ye nathar tat, ya ye mafdat, ya ye nathar tat, ya ye sabak, ya ye nathar, ya ye anap, ya ye nathar, ya ye khanum, ya ye nathar, ya ye khanas, ya ye nathar, ya ye patatanun, ya ye nathar, ya ye soye, ya ye nathar, ya ye haktat, ya ye nathar tat, ya ye amas, ya ye nathar, ya ye saratwi, ya ye nathar, ya ye atum re'e, ya ye nathar tat, ya ye dahutwi, ya ye nathar, ya ye patatan warat, ya ye nathar tat, ya ye sakar tat, ya ye nathar tat, ya ye ha, ya ye nathar, ya ye nehebka'a, ya ye nathar, ya ye sakar, ya ye nathar, ya ye ba'a, ya ye nathar, ya ye akar, ya ye nathar, ya ye imharatat, ya ye nathar tat, ya ye wapatwatat, ya ye nathar, ya ye sakat hataptat, ya ye nathar tat, ya ye meritat sikartat, ya ye nathar tat, ya ye sayetat, ya ye nathar tat, ya ye garatat, ya ye nathar tat, ya ye asat inu, ya ye nathar, ya ye bahatat, ya ye nathar tat, ya ye chanam tat, ya ye nathar tat, ya ye manaktat, ya ye nathar tat, ya ye chamem, ya ye nathar, ya ye mahatwi, ya ye nathar, ya ye kabefsin and afaf, ya ye nathar, ya ye dab matafaf, ya ye nathar, ya ye mardi tat, ya ye nathar tat, ya ye nasat, ya ye nathar, ya ye imdadat tat, ya ye nathar tat, ya ye nakakbatat, ya ye nathar tat, ya ye sakat tat, ya ye nathar tat, ya ye anaktat, ya ye nathar tat, ya ye dadad, ya ye nathar, ya ye tum, ya ye nathar, ya ye wahu, ya ye nathar, ya ye yesas, ya ye nathar, ya ye anach, ya ye nathar, ya ye afnawit, ya ye nathar, ya ye satat, ya ye nathar tat, ya ye sakatwi, ya ye nathar, ya ye immaat, ya ye nathar, ya ye nanah, ya ye nathar, ya ye inuit, ya ye nathar, ya ye imsatatwi, ya ye nathar, ya ye mutaltat, ya ye nathar tat, Ya ye Rahashafaf, Ya ye Nathar, Ya ye Maratwi, Ya ye Nathar, Ya ye Amun Re'e, Ya ye Nathar, Yehu Anun. At the Khaled Jawef Pot, Noon Re, Tun Re, Tun Re, Mun Re. Yeah. Amun. 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 Chapter 4. So again, for those who are not familiar with our prayers and chants and rituals, the whole goal and the purpose is to help to raise the body's vibration, right? So guys, when I was doing those chants like Amun, chanting Amun, you can feel that. You can feel the vibrations all throughout the body, you know? And so guys, what one of the goals is, as we're doing these rituals, as I try to always remind you, after you finish your chant, then you're supposed to go into a meditative state where you just go into quietness, into blackness, and you just relax and you let go. You relax and you let go, right? And the goal is to now begin to listen, to heighten your senses so that you can hear the natharu, so that you can begin to make contact. As you keep doing this consistently, day in, day out, day in, day out, you guys will see spiritual results. This is the whole goal. This is the whole goal. This is why we do these classes. This is why we do these lessons. And I pray that it's helping. I do pray that it's helping. So this is it. If anyone have any questions or concerns, I will address them. As I keep trying to say to you guys, you should be always asking questions. It's important. It helps. It helps out, because remember, our goal is a meeting of the minds. Our goal is a meeting of the minds, right? This is what leads us into unity, right? Uh, United we stand, divided we fall. We all know this. You know, when we are united people, we can accomplish things. But when we are divided people, obviously, we can't accomplish things. That's why in our prayers, we say right here in this in this is in our prayers, I can succeed as a part of all the expanding and fail as an individual person. That's in our prayer system, because this is a principle. You know, we're working together, we can accomplish things, but as individuals we fall, we fall. And so the whole point of questionings and discussions and us talking is to get to a meeting of the minds, you know. But that's you guys' choice. I'm always going to tell you guys to listen, study, always watch these lectures more than once, right? For those, especially for those you guys are new to our information, definitely study the informations, because it's designed to help you on your journey, your own spiritual journey. Now, as far as eating off your question, why the NoopooH Instagram page is off? Yeah, I didn't set that up. Actually, my brother was the one who set that up, and I haven't, you know, I'm not a big time social engine guy. I will say that, you know, I'm not a big time social engine guy. So that's, some of the reasons why it's not up. So that's my fault. Hopefully I can get to a point where I can peer into the other social engine platforms, because I don't, I'm not on Facebook or any of those other platforms like that. I'm mainly on YouTube. Question. Someone had a question. Daisha, where can I download this prayer to practice? Um, there's no place to download it. I can email it to you. So if you send me an email, my email is in my description. If you send me an email, I will email the prayers to anyone. Right? We do have it on YouTube. There is a channel. If I can find it, I can send it to you guys. The link where you can listen to it. That's what will help you learn how to do the chants, the prayers. Um, I can't think of it right now. I'm sorry. Uh, where that where I can find that prayer, but yeah, the prayers. I can, again, if anyone who emails me, I will I'll send you the link for the prayers so you can learn it. Okay. Great. As far as people becoming members of our site, whew, we're gonna get the site up and running very soon. I'm so sorry that it's been taking so long, because that's such a vital part to our operations, and it's horrible that I haven't been able to do it. It's just, it's amazing finding it so hard to find web people that can do the work that I need, because everything is done. As I said before, it's just one thing I need is this e-commerce portion for the site, where the subscription pages. I just need someone who's familiar with creating a subscription page for a website, so that people can choose their subscription to be able to log on. And this has been the challenge of me trying to find somebody who is proficient in that. I'm not going to give up. We're going to get it done. It's just insane that it's been taking me so long, because this site been down for over a year. It went down last year, summer, in June. July is when it went down, because I had the web company I was dealing with was GoDaddy, and I had them update my account, and they just messed it up. And and it's been a nightmare ever since last year trying to fix it. It's just crazy, but we're gonna get it. We're gonna get it. We're gonna get it going. I'm just so sorry, guys, that it's taking so long. So we'll get it. As far as Allison NoopooH archives, I'm not sure. That unless you're talking about the YouTube NoopooH, I do recommend guys listening to that YouTube channel, the NoopooH channel on YouTube. I do recommend that. It's some really good information. They put our books in audio, so you guys can listen to the books in audio. That's another thing I forgot. So you can listen to them in audio as much as you can read the books. So I'm guys, definitely go to Scribes and download the books for free, because a lot of the books on there, they're not being reprinted. We don't have access to them. A lot of the books are outdated. They're not being reprinted. So get access to those books, because a lot of the teachings I'm going through, a lot of these older books that are not in print anymore. And you guys need to get access to those books. Okay. Yes, Allison, you are a member. You just haven't been able to sign up because I haven't fixed that sign up portal. That's been the biggest challenge, Allison. So my 1,000 apologies. I know it's horrible business that I haven't been able to get it done, and it's just yucky. But I will. Bear with me, guys. Bear with me, because once we get the site up, we're gonna have a lot to do with the site, and it's gonna be fun, and we're gonna make a lot of things happen. Edomoff question: how do you support the organization other than the subscriptions? Right. So, like as I said before, I always say this in the beginning of our discussions when you talk about the principles and our goals. Our goals of students of Wu-Sabat, one of the ultimate goals is number 2, fight Leviathan. This is include working the free Panabab Yanana, and the master teacher needs all the help he can get. The master teacher needs all the help he can get. And one of the things we always, say everyone is to be pushing for the master teacher's freedom. There are things you can do on that note. Is we're telling people to contact Amnesty International. That's a good idea. A brother had put that out there. The brother Amun Nuba, who talks about to put out there to contact Amnesty International, because there's a lot of the United States prison systems are really unjust, and it's just the conditions he's in. He's dealing with illness in there, and so he needs all the moral support, physical support he can possibly get the people to support, and they need to see that the master teacher has outside support, a lot of outside support. So that is another way to help, to get updates on that, on the master teacher. Guys, you got to go to this website. Go to this website so you guys will know. Let me find it for you. Let me find it. If I can find the site right here. Now, if you guys want to get new books, this is the site to go to. The United Sabaeans Worldwide. That's the website to go to. The United or UnitedSabaeansWorldwide.com. UnitedSabaeansWorldwide.com. This is the official website of our organization. This is where you can get updates and get access to the new books, right? The new books, the actual facts books you can get access to, as well as the master secrets you can get access to, as well as the Patarak, the new books. And so, guys, this is the website where you can get access to information. Okay, so that's important that you guys know that. So yeah, thank you, Allison, for being overstanding my situation. We're gonna get it fixed, guys. I'm committed to this, and I apologize 1,000 times, but we're gonna get it going. We have so much to do. So, we just have so much to do. So, guys, you got to, all I'm saying to you guys, you got to ask questions, a lot of questions. It's going to help. Study the lectures, write down questions, ask those questions, because it stimulate conversation. And it's important for us to stimulate conversation to deal with certain concepts. It also helps me to see where you guys are mentally, what you guys are thinking about the lessons and the concepts that we're talking about, and to help you guys even work through some of those concepts. So I'm always telling you guys, ask questions. It's so important to study the lectures and to write down questions so that when we do these NoopooH Live, you guys can converse. This is the opportunity to talk with me so we can go through a lot of concepts. So I repeat, guys, write down questions, because remember, the goal is we have to have a meeting of the minds. This is why we're not working together as a people, because we don't have a meeting of the minds. We don't agree on a lot of stuff. And this is what we're trying to get to, that meeting of the minds where we can agree, we can have these discussions and see where we are. And guys, I'm gonna put this out coming in January. I'm gonna set up a new show. In addition to the NoopooH Lives, we're going to be doing an interview show, and it's going to be called On Common Ground. We're going to be interviewing different brothers and sisters who come from other schools of thoughts, and to see where there can be a common ground, right? That's something we're going to be dealing with, where we can be a common ground for Black people, because all of us are fighting racism, white supremacy. And all of us are supporting their system economically, whether you're a Hebrew Israelite, whether you're a Muslim, whether you're a Christian, whether you are Moor, whatever the organization, Nation Islam, we're all funding and financing our own self-destruction by fueling the Western culture. And we need to find some common ground where we may not agree culturally, but we can at least probably agree on economic concepts. So we're going to set up on Wednesdays. I'm planning to set this up for Wednesday nights from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. to have this discussion and bring on different types of personalities where we can talk about where can we find a common ground where we can work with each other on an economic level, on a social level, on a political level. I know we may have our differences culturally, but there can be some common ground where we can support one another. And so we are going to set up an interview show to deal with that. So guys, be on the lookout for that, because that's something that I've been planning and working on as well. And I think it's extremely important because it also creates exposure when you bring on different types of personalities and see where this can lead to, And I'm gonna also start bringing on other brothers and sisters who are students, right? And of course, to talk about, because our own organization, we have a lot of division in our own organization, and we need to find out where different brothers and sisters, where we can find a common ground to work together on different projects. So that's also important. So we're definitely going to be setting that up. So you guys are going to get to see a lot of individuals come through here that we're going to be setting up these interviews very soon. Like I said, January is what my projected date for doing that, just so you guys know. So be on the lookout for that. So like I said, I'm going to be doing them on Wednesday nights, right? So Tuesday nights, we still have our NoopooH Live, and that's just dealing with our doctrine and educating people about our doctrine and our cultural concepts and the things that we teach that our people need to know to expand your sound reasoning, because the knowledge is to enhance your decision-making abilities, your ability to reason soundly, to make better decisions. That's what this whole doctrine is all about. Question from it's hard to read that name. I'm sorry, and I don't want to mess it up. But the Nikan Losian, I'm sorry if I messed the name up. But okay, so the question is, why does it seem like there are sisters step up and speaking out against women that are destroying the family dynamic and mistreating brothers? Is it the rise of the divine feminine against the perverted feminist? Okay. I'm not familiar with the sisters who are speaking out. We need it. We sure need our women. What we really need is, when it comes to the females now, we need women, Black women, to be dealing with other Black women. We need Black women to be dealing with other Blacks, to start educating your daughters, to start educating your sisters, your mothers. Women need to come together. The Black women need to come together, because only the females can fix the family. Only the females can fix the family, because you're the guys who give birth to them. The mother is the first teacher. And what you teach your daughter and what you teach your son is going to be the most important aspect. That's what shapes us as a people. That's why our enemy, our adversary, spends so much time trying to influence our children. You mothers, the black woman, can put a stop to that. The black woman can put a stop to it because you guys are the first learners and you guys are the first teachers of these children. And our women need to get together. Our women need to come. The black female need to unite. The men cannot do it. The men cannot do it. Black men has been trying to do it since the 1800s. Black men have been protesting for rights and equal rights and doing this and doing that, from Booker T. Washington to Marcus Garvey, to Noble Drew Ali, to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, to Malcolm X, to Martin Luther King, and the list goes on of black men. Black men can't do it. It is the black woman that can do it. And as the women have to do it through other women. The women have to get on point because the men will follow the women. The men will follow the women. Why do you think they always give, it's free for the women to come into the club? Why do you think it's free for the female to come into the club? Because they know the men will pay. Men are following after the women. It is the females who have to take the lead. Right now, the women who are taking the lead don't represent our culture, like Beyonce and Nicki Minaj and Cardi B and all of these women who are out front there, who are leading the charge and moving our people astray away from their heritage and their blackness. And we need women, black women, to put a stop to that. For black women to demand their daughters, their sisters, their mothers, whoever, to be natural, to represent their naturalness and to bring power to that. You guys, that's an untapped industry. Our people aren't tapping. That's $1 billion industry. The natural, that's what my mate does. Natural hair care. She's also a teacher, but she also does natural hair care. My daughter does natural hair care. That's an open industry. There's black women all over the planet Earth. To educate them about it, that's a business right there. Just an educating about health and natural hair care. Our people do not know these things. Like Africa, they got a horrible diet out there. Israel, I look at my brothers and sisters in Nigeria. Their diet is really messed up. They need a lot of education when it comes to health care, hair care. They're buying all these unnecessary weaves and all of this, and they're spending all this money on that stuff. And that is something us, the sisters who want to represent our natural way of doing things, that's an open business for you guys to attack, for those women who have that kind of mindset. And this is why I wanted, we're trying to set up the website, the NoopooCC, the Noopoo community circle, why we want to set up our own social engine to stimulate this kind of thinking, to help sisters to create seminars on our site. Once I get the site up and running, so many things we can do with it to help stimulate these kind of conversations. And because of the internet, we can connect to our people all over the globe. That's the beauty of the internet, right? So there's so many things that we have on the books that we can do, that we're going to do, to work to solve our problems, to come together. Question, when you ask, is she a part of the resurrection? I'm not. Unless that's a general statement. Any sisters who are, listen, any black person who is dedicated to their people is a part of the resurrection. The dedicated to teaching the truth, teaching righteousness, helping our people be better, to love themselves, to respect themselves, and to work together. We have to stop feeding these foreign cultures. We have to stop giving power to foreigners, because that is what has been destroying us for the last 500 years, is we keep feeding foreign cultures, in particularly the Western cultures, the European cultures, who just bleed us dry like vampires. They live off of us, and we got to stop feeding them. We put out a book, in actual fact, Stop Feeding the Forces. The master teacher put that out. Got to stop feeding the forces. These disagreeable forces, we keep buying their stuff, supporting their stuff. I know it's hard because they own and control every freaking thing. So we got to start small and we will grow big. We start small and we will grow big. We just got to support one another. So let's keep the conversation going. We're going to sign out, right? But we're going to keep it going. Next week, like I said, next week, we're going to talk about the power of love. That's a very important subject matter to understand with love, because our people do not know what love is. They don't understand the science of what our ancestors taught about love. And it's ashak. I hate using that word love. I'm sorry, because you guys won't know, and the people who listen to us won't know what we mean. So we have to use that word, but it's a really bad word to use. It's a trick word, because if you turn the word love around, you get the word evil. It is done. This language is deceptive like that. So it's not a good word to use, but because people don't know it, I have to use it. But the proper word is ashak, and it means divine love. Ashak. And once we embrace ashak, then that will lead us back into our position of power. Once we have love for one another, ashak for one another. Eating Moth asked a question where we have discussions related to genetic shift. We did discussions on the genetic shift. Eating Moth. That's that lecture we did, that Wu-Sabat is a genetic doctrine. We use. I think we went into that book, Genetic Shift. I did that in not too long ago. We was using that particular book, and we went through a lot of the concepts in it. So look at that lecture again. If you haven't, if you forgot about it, look at that lecture again and see what we went, because we did cover that subject matter. But if you have any specific questions on that topic, don't be afraid to ask about genetics and stuff like that, because that is a very important topic. It's very extensive, but look at that lecture we did on Wu-Sabat is a genetic doctrine. Listen to it. See if you feel we left anything out, let me know. If we need to do more on that subject, we will. Okay. Okay, Edom. All right, I hear you. There is. So here's what you do. If you looked at the book, write down your questions. I'll address them. We can talk about it. If there's some concepts in the book that you need help with, because there's a lot of concepts in that book. You're right. There is a lot of concepts in that book. So if I have to do another discussion on it, I will. If I have to do another discussion on it, I will, and I'll go through the book in detail. And you're probably right. It probably is needed because it's such an important subject matter to cover. Oh, how do we spell? The question is, how do we spell the word ashak? I have it here. If anyone needs to spell that word, let me show you guys. We say it all the time right here. Ashak is the key to accomplish all our goals. Ashak is the key to accomplish all our goals. So you see that right there? So anyone who needs the spelling of that, you can see the spelling. There's a couple ways you enunciate it. You can say ashak, or we can change the A to a U, and it'll be ashuk. So you can say ashak or ashuk with a U. That's another way we can enunciate the same word. It means the same thing. Okay. So you have ashuk, or you have ashak, right? So either it could be spelled either way, changing those vowels from an A to a U. They're interchangeable, just so you guys know that. Every lecture, all of our lectures on Tuesdays start from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. All our lectures go from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. That's our NoopooH live classes for those who do not know, all of our discussions go from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m., guys. Now, of course, we're overtime because usually I end the lecture at 9, right? We do our prayers at the end of it, and then I'll take questions, which is what I'm dealing with now, right? So I try to address any questions or concerns that people have pertaining to a lot of the things we talk about. Yes. Now, as far as the question about Asar and a set and the concept of resurrection, we get the concept. We did it. We did a discussion on that, right? For those who did not see that lecture, I highly recommend you guys see this lecture that we did. There's our channel, and where is it? It says, where is that discussion? Right here. Resurrection is an African science. Resurrection is an African science because the concept of resurrection goes back to ancient Kemet, going back to the Asar, Aset, and Haruz storyline. Okay. So our ancestors, that was practiced in Africa. So definitely for those who did not watch that lecture, watch that lecture. Guys, you guys should watch it again anyway, because it was a while ago that we did that lecture as a recap on resurrection. Okay, so you guys definitely need to check that lecture out, because I think we put out some good information on that subject matter. Okay. All right, eat him off. I hear you. And we're working on that. We're fixing our minds, right? Always be positive. You can visualize, guys. Yeah, this is the guys. You got to practice learning how to visualize yourself in the most serene possible place and state of bliss. Being on a beautiful island, surrounded by beautiful sand and clear water. The birds are flying in the air. You have palm trees. You feel the breeze of the ocean and the wind. You feel the sun beaming down on you, charging your melanin, right? Learn to visualize and put yourself in those states. Meditate on things like that before you go to bed. Practice that before you go to bed. After 3 months of consistently do that, that's how you'll dream. You'll start dreaming and transporting yourself to places of tranquility. That's how you block the nightmares and the negative things that they put into our minds. Because remember, they programmed ourselves to be negative from birth through their programming, their commercials, their TV, all the violence, all the sex, all the stuff they put in the media. It gets into your subconscious. Remember, your subconscious, it stores all of that data into your subconscious mind. And that's why we have nightmares from watching movies like Freddy Krueger and Friday the 13th and the Halloween movies. We grew up on that stuff as children and adults. On all this drama shows that they put out there, the soap opera shows they put out there, the what's that? The Housewives of Atlanta, whatever. All those crazy shows that our people watching, fighting over divorce and marriage breakups and cheating on this guy and doing this with this. It's insane. We have a lot of things that's been put into us by this culture that's messed us up, and we got to get all our stuff out of us. And you do it through visualization. You can program your own mind the same way they programmed us through their TV. We can program ourselves. We have that power. Question. Daisha asks, I understand that we are divine beings, but who is the God? So I can know who to thank. Okay. Now, when we say God, right? Remember, God is that comes out of the Bible, right? That's religious terminology out of Christian faith, and they call the creator God. Now, our ancestors identified the creative force as nature itself, existence itself. We would thank the creative force, nature. We would thank the trees for giving us oxygen. We would thank the ground, the earth, for providing us food. We would thank the sun for providing us the heat to heat our bodies, to heat the planet. Okay. And so we would thank nature itself who is the creator. Nature is the creative force itself. And that's who our ancestors, us as Africans, used to respect and thank for all of the provisions, all of the things that provided us, because nature was our sustainer, is our sustainer. And we understood that. So, it's important that we understand it. So we don't use terminologies like God, because God is a Germanic word, right? That's a Germanic word, and that goes back to their gods like Thor and Odin and Frida and Loki, all the things they're showing in their movies now. This is why the days of the week are named after their gods, right? Thursday is named after Thor. Friday is named after Thor's mother. Wednesday is Odin, Thor's father, right? So they name their days of the week after their god. Saturday is the Roman god Saturn, right? This is where these names come from and all. And so obviously Monday is the worship of the moon day. So the Caucasians name all of their days of the week and months after their gods. Like July and August are the Romans rulers. July comes from Julius Caesar. August comes from Augustus Caesar. The Mukasu named everything after his ancestors and his gods. That's why the master teacher had to correct that. We have our own calendar system. We have our own days of the week, and it's not worshiping the Mukasu. That's why we need to set up our own everything to get away from all of the stuff that they brainwashed us into their Germanic cultures. Remember, all these religions were created by the Caucasians. That has nothing to do with us. And that's important for our people to know this, so definitely watch the videos. All of the lectures that we put out here, it will help make those concepts very clear. We spent a lot of time, explaining these things. Right. So Ra is the sun, but we don't say that's not that the proper enunciation of the sun is Re. Right? That is the proper enunciation. It's not Ra, but it's actually Re. Re is the correct enunciation of that. And that's why our ancestors will all had that last name or that last attribute on their name. So my name is Peti Sina Tebtu Re. And if you research the names of the Egyptian pharaohs, and you all see that last name is Re. Okay, that was a tradition in our bloodline, because it denoted that we were children of the sun, that we came from the sun, or we are sun children or melanite children, that we all grew from the sun. Our soul force comes from the suns of the boundless omniverse, and we identify with that sun as a healing force, a creative force, because there would be no life without the sun, right, guys? And remember, a physical, visible creation must have a visible creator. It is impossible to have a visible creation but an invisible creator. So the God concept, who's invisible, created visible things. You cannot have an invisible creator creating visible things. Remember that, guys. They teach our people to worship this spook, unseen God. Says that it's the creator, but we are a visible creation. And in order to have a visible creation, you have to have a visible creator. It's impossible to have it any other way. But they got us thinking so foolishly, we just believe all of the dogma that they put into our brains. And we got to overcome that, guys, right? We got to overcome it. So, with that being said, today is a long class. I didn't mean to be this long, but it's all good. We know I have to chime out. But next week, guys, check us out every Tuesday, NoopooH Live from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. We're going to do this next week. Next week, we're going to deal with the power of love. So be on the lookout. That's what we're going to talk about. And until then, much blessings, much blessings, and be strong. Why do?
want to wash, what are you going to? If you want to cook soup, now what are you going to? If your head is hot, now what are you cool? If your child they grow, what are you going to? If water kill your child, now what are you going to? No. Took me back, mama, why me not do my low? The song to the shape, oh, my love, oh, not without water. The song to the shape, oh, my love, oh, me, you Lord, oh, me, you Lord. If you fight up unless you wonder, I say water no get enemy. If you fight up unless you wonder, oh me you daughter. And they talk of black man power. And they talk of black power. I say water no get enemy. If you fight up unless you wonder, I say water no get enemy. I say water no get enemy. Oh me you love.